Morning, Joe Wenberg, Bluebird Semaphore, and these tapings that I do now, well, that will be like this one, where I'm kind of reviewing a book. I'm going to call them book, and this will be book one, maybe book review one, and I'll give the title. This one is The Snow Leopard. It's by a fella, Peter Matthiessen, Matthiessen, Peter. And yeah, I'll show you the book. But when I'm putting these books up, I'll try to say that much, at least as the what I'll label it. So you'll see something come up on the Bluebird Semaphore that'll say book, whatever, the name, the author. Okay? You think you're interested, click on it and you'll hear what I have to say about it. Okay? So this is the Snow Leopard. And the book was written in 1978. I believe he and a fella, George, I can never remember this guy's name. George Schal, Schaller. George Schaller. I think he could best be described as a wildlife biologist. And I think they went trekking in Nepal and the boundary region of Nepal with Tibet. Not too far in Tibet, but the place where they wanted to get to was in Tibet. I think the trek took place in 1973. The book came out in 1978. I believe it was given an award, one of these literary accomplishment awards. Now, the snow leopard, which is, unique among large cats. First of all, it's very rarely seen up there in the Himalayas, and its range can be as far as from Afghanistan, once again, in the higher elevations. It prefers to be within 5,000 feet, and it seems that it will also be found at 18,000 feet. So it's got quite a quite a range when it comes to elevation. We're talking about the snow leopard. It also can be found between Afghanistan and all the way over to southwestern China, still in the extreme eastern parts of the Himalayas. Now, it also is found, wherever there's high elevation in the Himalayas. But it goes north, down throughout Tibet, goes north, Central Asia, and where there are mountains, you'll find them. Also, where there are mountains in the Russian occupied places where there's mountains, you will find a snow leopard. You'll also find them in the Cape May County Zoo, but it's not my preferred way of seeing animals. Really, you go there. Let's say you want to see the snow leopard. You go there. Well, that particular day, he decides, or she decides, or the kits decide not to come out of their cave. So you go there for nothing. So it's not my cup of tea, but let me tell you, they are an extremely beautiful animal. I did go when we first heard about them being there, and I did get fortunate. I did see them, both the adult and the little ones. Subsequently, one of the little ones has died. This is over a couple of years, 5 years or so. One of them has died. and they're still there. But unless I feel like taking a walk, I'm probably not going to go there just to see them. I probably won't go there to see anything. That zoo leaves a lot to be desired. Basically, it's a tourist attraction for the thousands that come down here to Cape May in the summer. They got nothing to do with their kids. The kids don't want to sit on a beach all day. So they take them to the Cape May County Zoo. Maybe they'll take them for a whale watching, doody-doo, and maybe take them up in the kites where they pull the parasailing. We'll take them up there and so on. But the zoo is a big attraction. So if I go there, I'm going to be surrounded by hundreds of families, dragging their kids with them. It's not pleasant. So I stay away. And you can tell by the look on their faces, generally, the kids and the parents are having a horrible time. Hey, I didn't mean to make this a denigration of the Cape May County Zoo, but it seems like that's what I just did. I apologize. Anyway, so the book, getting back to the book, I had started reading this, I don't know, 4 years ago or something, and I just got disinterested because I thought it was going to be all this snow leopard lore, and it wasn't being that. It was a lot of the fella divulging his being, that's fine, but that's not what I was looking for out of this book. So I put it aside. I had read maybe 40% of it. I put it aside, and it was quite out of sight until just recently, a week or so ago. I was looking for something else, and I moved some books aside, and this thing popped out. Now, subsequently, I got a little bit more interested. I've always been interested, but a little more interested in the the cosmology, the spiritual visions, the way of life of these Himalayan folks. I'm not about to tell you that they're a bunch of Buddhists, which I'm not going to say that, because there are a lot of things. There are amalgamation, or whatever the word is, of many, many religions, including religions that go all the way back thousands of years before there even was such a thing as Buddhism and Christianity and Muslims and all that stuff. These guys had one of those very early primitive outlooks on the universe, which is essentially what all religions are, is a people and their particular views of what it's all about, So he points out, eventually when I got to pick it back up again, I started reading it. He does point out along the way in this narrative that the people, particularly in the area that he's tramping through, they can trace their origins back a couple thousand years at least, and that religion as well. And they still seem to retain a lot of the name nomenclature of those gods that they worship. And if there's a mountain in view with these folks, that mountain's going to have a god name. Rampa Rimpa lives on this particular mountain, and Doo-Doo-Da-Dee-Da lives on that one. And they believe this in total. And it may very well be that the earth and what you could see with your eyes and hear with your ears at the time was radically different than it is now. And these folks who were living there, they perceived things in a different fashion than we would. So I'm not going to poo-poo that, they had all these gods back then. And the gods hardly sound like the gods that other early people had. For example, the early gods of, say, people in Africa, North American Indians, the South American Indians. Those gods, they all seem to fit into one bag, and they all basically the same thing. This one may bring us water. This one will bring us rain. This one will make us not have a drought. This one will make my wife have babies. All this kind of stuff. But when I read these religions and about these gods of these early people living in the Himalayas, I mean, those gods were just gods that, for the most part, were there to take the blindfolds off the folks, and in some cases put the blindfolds on them as well, or at least that's what I deduced from these readings. And I've been reading about these people that live in Himalaya for a while, but not this, and not what this guy was doing. The fellow I mentioned, George, the wildlife biologist, he was going there specifically to see an animal known as a blue sheep, and it's got another name. It's difficult. A lot of these Tibetan names are difficult because, they're not phonetically pronounced at all, and you can't hardly spell them. It's just a bunch of letters, But the word is one thing, but what it is and what we refer to it is a blue sheep. And he knew that it was the rutting season, this particular October in 1973. So he was going to go up there and do his looky-see. And very well respected, by the way, wildlife biologist, big time. And he had known Peter Matthiessen from previous activities, and he thought, he always went on these treks pretty much by himself, and there would be his porters and interpreters, that kind of stuff would go with him, but he wasn't bringing any Westerners. But the thought went in his head, hey, why don't I ask Pete, see if he wants to go? He seems to be an interesting enough dude. So he asked Pete. Pete's thrilled to all get up to go with this guy into essentially the heart of Nepal and the Himalayas and the Himalayan parts of Tibet. Okay? I should keep this book up. The jacket is just wonderful. Of course, mine is all partially in shreds. But so he's thrilled, and they're going to do it. They talk about how to get started, and boom. And basically, where I picked the book up again was just about where they're ready to get off and start this trek. Maybe that's why I gave up, because if you read 40% of a book that's supposed to be going to look for the snow leopard, and they haven't even got started yet, maybe you're going to give up. And I did, but I picked it up, and they got right on the trail. And one thing this guy, Peter Matthiessen, can do is he could put you in the scene. He can put you right there. He does it, I would say, in some sort of talent, gift of a spiritual nature, of a introspective nature. He's not bringing you like most people would bring to a narrative about a place. Lots of descriptions about things and this, that, and the other thing, and you get a taste of flavor, but he really puts you in it, and he didn't get these awards. He got 2 awards. I forget what kind of awards they are. You would recognize them. They're important awards in the in the literary book world. In the literary book world, too, these awards he got were important, are important. Show you how connected he was, this guy Peter, in that he was co-founder with another dude, I forget the name, of some of the people who started the Paris Review. And that, my dear friends, is nothing to sneeze at. So this guy, he comes packing with the stuff. As they say in the movie, he has the right stuff for this kind of thing. And he's got a list of 7 or 8 or 9 other books, all well regarded. I can't, now that I see that, I know I got to get myself in front of some of those books. Because A, I think they're all important. And B, the way he writes, I'm sure I'm going to like them. And also, I find an interesting aspect of his life is that he wound up in Sagaponack. I don't know if you know where Sagaponack is, but Sagaponack is a lovely spot out in eastern Long Island, just before you hop into East Hampton Village, and you're going to be in Sagaponack, right on the shore, oceanside, woods, some cauliflower farms, and maybe more truck farming kind of thing down there. A lot of families, at least when I was there, the families traced their heritage back. And then Sagaponack got put on the map, and anybody who thought they were somebody and had the bucks, they were buying up acreage in Sagaponack so that they could be thought of as pretty inclusive in the wildlife and nature and natural aspects of the world. Of course, what do they do when they go out there? They have cocktail parties. That's what they do, you know. But some real people in Sagaponack, what they do is they listen to their CB radios for when other folks are saying the blues are here, the blues. And then they grab their pole and run down the shore and they get their dinner, you know, catching those bluefish right out of the surf. Anyway, Sagaponack, wonderful place. But the book, I can't speak enough about this book. I think if you want to know the Himalayas, you have to read this book. You have to. I read another book, and that one I read through, front to cover. It's bigger than this one, thick book. And I think it was called The Heart of the World, where a younger person than this Peter guy, he decides he's going to go to this area of the Himalayas that has a ravine that's so impossible to get through that nobody ever did. You just can't do it. So he decides he's going to do it. And lots of difficulties, including the Red Army, Red Chinese Army, holding them up and so on. But if I remember the book correctly, he did get through. And it was called The Heart of the World. Interestingly enough, the place where they go, this inner dole pole, is also has a reference to it as being the center of the world or something like that. So these people are all thinking alike, that in this area, I think it's inner dole pole, in these high mountains, that's where the gods lived. And I've been a big proponent of that for a long time, way before Bluebird or any of this stuff, you know. And some of the rationale for it is that when you look at the religious structures of places like India, Burma, which isn't Burma anymore, Thailand, Cambodia, whatever, these religious structures, they always have these steep parts of the building, conical, and they look like mountains. So I'm convinced that the folks who built these, going back thousands of years, felt very strongly that the gods lived up in the mountains. And why wouldn't they think that way? These mountains are very impressive, very impressive. And to get there is a struggle. And when you get there, you find you're very likely to come up with inner peace. And you're very likely to be able to see beyond the physical aspects of these mountains and these snowfields. You'll be swept away. Hopefully you won't be, because you might be at the bottom of a crack in the ice and snow. But the book, I highly recommend it, the Snow Leopard. If you're at all interested in the Himalayas, like I said, you got to read this. Now, you know, what's being done to the Himalayas today is sacrilegious. No pun intended. But, you know, these tour trips and trekking and all that stuff, it's just sacrilegious. It's sacrilegious. You know? They have no respect for this wonderful place. No respect. And you can tell me all you want that the money that they get from ecotourism is helping the people, and they got satellites, and the kids can do the internet. This has crushed their culture. And as you probably well know, culture crushing is not what reasonable and caring, concerned people want to do. We don't want a culture crush. But listen, reading this book and knowing what I know about what's going on in the Himalayas today, I say this book is already outdated. Outdated. I'm sure if you go up to, it's Shea Monastery, it's also known as Crystal Monastery. You probably go up there now, and they probably have little key sacks, whatever the word is, and they're probably selling orange juice and thermal stockings. It is a shame, and if that's going on, you're not going to be able to get the spiritual benefit of the Himalayas. You're just not. I'm pretty sure Nepal is fairly well run over. You know, I doubt it. So that's why books like this are even more important. More important. There's a fine book, I don't know if I have it right here, on the art of these people. Yeah. No, that's not it. Oh well. But there's a nice book on the art of the Himalayas, and you get quite a feel for the place and the people. Once again, that book was probably printed in the 80s, so it's also a little dated. So, what else can I tell you about this book? On the front cover, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm going to put my hand on it right here. If you can see it right here, those are the buildings that the Shea Monastery and Crystal Monastery, right, you know, in a southwesterly line off of the monastery is the Crystal Mountain. It's probably 30 miles away. And in the general area, there's about 4 other monasteries. Now, when they went to Crystal Monastery, Shea Monastery, it was pretty much empty of people. A couple of folks there who more or less were being guardians of the place. What I wanted to say is I'm also, and this is speculation, that the world was aware of this place, Anartolpo, and the monasteries long before this book was written. And why do I say that? Because James Hilton, when he wrote Lost Horizons, is pretty much describing this place. Now, that's speculation. Nobody said it's true, but it's never stopped me before. If I could get enough evidence in my head that I think something is more or less correct, I'm going to go with it. Now, the description of where this place is, people associated with it, and so on, fits the story of Lost Horizon. And why wouldn't it be so? I mean, places like the terrain where Lost Horizon took place, they're not all over the place, and mostly they're not inhabited. Okay? And if they are inhabited, they're very difficult to get to. For example, the author points out that this monastery, being at 15,000 feet, and these people who are living in that general area, this is the highest populated place on the planet, or at least one of. I think Lhasa in Tibet is at 16,000 feet. So there would be others, but not many, where people are living at this altitude. And that just fits Lost Horizon to a T. If anybody knows, look into it, and have the people on Good Morning America talk to the world about it, okay? All right, listen, that's enough. I talked about the book, and I'm going to post this. And so here I close. Everybody have a wonderful day. By the way, if I didn't say it, it's January 11th, 2024. And by the way, unfortunately, I got a fritillary, a butterfly type thing that came through the front yard January 10th, yesterday. There's no way that thing should have been here. No way. And I didn't get my camera in time to take a picture. But I'm pretty sure it's a cranberry fritillary. F-R-I-T-I-L-L-A-R. Cranberry fritillary. If you look that up, you'll see this orange, smaller, maybe 2 inches across, 1 inch top to bottom, butterfly that should not be here. So I speculate, right? Of course. We had a really, really heavy windstorm and rainstorm the day before. Now, this fritillary is supposedly native to Europe. They say North Europe. They also talk about France and what have you. So I'm thinking those claims of the geographic regions of animals are never very, very accurate or all-encompassing. So this fritillary could have been living on the Azores, could have been living in the Canary Islands. I would favor the Azores, or someplace where that storm came by, picked it up, and flew it over here. That's my opinion. Because that thing was not supposed to be flying around after having burrowed in the ground here or something, or what have you. Now, could it have been blown up from somewhere else? Well, sure, who knows. But because they said Europe, I went in that direction. The Azores, Canary Islands, or even, the outlying western regions of France. Anyway, or it's not a cranberry fritillary like I think it is. It's something else, but it definitely didn't belong here January 10th, 2024. All right, that's enough, and have a good rest of the day.